Conversation continues. And then just a few other updates. If you are a Ride Illinois member, you'll be getting a postcard in the mail, and we'll be sending an email as well about our member meeting on April 29th, which will be via Zoom. So more to come on that. The National Bike Summit, I see Elizabeth is here, and if I scroll through the rest of the list here, so several folks from Illinois are heading to DC at the end of March. We'll be lobbying on Capitol Hill, as well as learning from others who are in attendance. We know right now that one of the bills, or one of the asks, if you will, on a bill is going to focus on truck side guards or underride guards. So we're waiting on the specific ask of our elected officials. So if you're going to the Bike Summit, either in person or virtually, you can, well, Elizabeth or I will be in touch. And then you can reach out to us with questions as planning continues. And then a few fun topics I wanted to mention. I'll put a link in a moment, but we just released our 2023 ride guide. So full of good events and information, and maybe some network opportunities. So that's available. Shameless plug for the Ride Illinois coffee from Maple Leaf Coffee Roasters. There you go. Every bag purchased, $2 comes to Ride Illinois. And then lastly, I'll put a link again in here through our regional action team. That's kind of our volunteer initiative, which I know some of you are involved in. We're getting requests for appearances at events really all over the state, many in the Chicago area. So if it's something that's kind of in your blood, you want to go and talk to people about biking, walking, getting around outside of motor vehicles, those are opportunities to volunteer. I did well on time, Maggie. I'm going to turn it back over to you. And then if there's questions, maybe throw them in the chat and I can keep an eye on that. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Dave. All right. Well, with that, Amy, can we turn it over to you for an update on what's happening in Springfield?
Sounds good. And Dave, help me fill in the blanks if I leave some things off, because a lot of different things have been happening. I'll just backtrack a little bit. So over the last couple years, you all well know, because you're living this every day, that we've seen a dramatic increase in bicyclists and pedestrians being hit by cars and dying. In Chicago alone, of all traffic deaths in Chicago, 1 in every 3 is a pedestrian or cyclist. Statewide, it's about 1 in every 5. So it's really dramatic. It's deeply troubling, and it points to a confluence of a number of things, including streets not being designed safely for bicyclists and pedestrians, cars safety being tested on people inside the car, not outside, and a whole host of other things. So for a lot of summer and fall last year, Ride Illinois, Active Transportation Alliance, and Metropolitan Planning Council met with state legislators who were paying attention to safety and the crisis in new ways. So through that, plus our elections advocacy at the state level with the Secretary of State, the governor's office, and folks running for office, we got new champions on board to advance safety legislation. So that's a really good thing. People stepping up to respond. So we have a lot more things happening this year, and that's good, but it's also happening on a much shorter time frame. So the first thing I want to say to you all is thank you for taking action this week when you didn't know you would be, and for doing it in such large scale. I have to say, not to like brag on all of us, but we had the most people showing up in terms of weighing in on legislation than anything happening in Springfield. I don't think the truck industry lobby understood that we could turn out over 700 people saying we need streets safer for people and not super huge trucks navigating our residential streets. So thank you all. A special thanks to Dave for getting out statewide the action alerts on that. So I'll just give a few highlights on what some of the substance of the legislation was. I'll do the easier ones that kind of went through without a lot of controversy. The first is creating a statewide zero fatalities task force that has a lot of different state agencies, advocacy groups, and others involved in crafting a statewide plan. And after hearing how legislators understand or think about safety, and after our organizations and many of you having advocated with IDOT for years to change how they do what they do, I think this task force holds a lot of promise. They don't always, but I think we need a broader body saying back to the legislature, we demand safety. It's unacceptable that the status quo is 250,000 crashes a year on our roads. It's unacceptable that 1,300 people die. So that task force passed out of committee, and it will be headed to the House floor for a vote soon. So we will do another action alert soon to ask folks to reach out to their state reps to sign on as sponsors. So stay tuned for that. Another one that's moving that needs to be amended, and we want to make the bill stronger, but we don't know if we can, is called an IDOT safety bill that would essentially direct IDOT to create a policy that when they are doing maintenance on a roadway, which is the lion's share of where our dollars go, resurfacing, repainting, restriping, things like that. Whenever they're doing that, they have an eye towards safety improvements. And currently in the bill, there's a list of some safety improvements. We have others we want added, and some of the language strengthened so that it really does happen. So stay tuned on that one. It did not have a lot of opposition. IDOT did not oppose it yet. So we're feeling good about that. This is a long time problem in Illinois because our complete streets law does not include maintenance. So given that most of the time we're touching a road as maintenance, activating complete streets is a lot harder. So that's why we're working on that. The ones that are more controversial are the one on truck turning radius. I'm sure there's some engineers in the room or planners in the room that may be able to explain this better than I can, but I'll just tell you the origins of this really quickly. Over the last 2 years, seeing the increase in deaths, we put out a bunch of requests to different sectors of the transportation industry to say, we know you care about bicycle and pedestrian safety. Why do your projects not end up with higher quality and more consistent bicycle and pedestrian safety elements? And we convened engineering firms and planning firms and firms that have the big contracts with our DOTs to execute the engineering plans and projects. And after even just one meeting with them, it came back to a state law that passed in 2017 that mandated that intersections be able to accommodate 65-foot long trucks. For context, that is a car carrying truck. A CTA bus or a PACE bus, 40 feet. This is a huge truck. It's a very big difference. And why it makes a difference to us is because intersections, which are the most dangerous place for all of us, need to be made wider for these trucks, not narrower for someone trying to cross. So we worked on some language to allow municipalities to say, on certain roads in our municipality, we do not want supersized trucks. So we're not going to be designing for supersized trucks. So that's kind of the essence of what we're working on there. We've been in negotiations with the trucking industry lobbyists since day 2 of the bill being filed. So I now know them very well. And we met again last night and we'll meet again tonight. And I think we're close on some language that would allay their concerns, which is every municipality banning trucks everywhere. And that's not what we want. Goods need to get from A to B. We just don't want to have to be designing a residential area for supersized trucks. So that's what we're working on there. The last thing, and I promise I'll stop throwing a lot of data and legislation at you, is lowering speed limits. So the default speed limit in Illinois is 30 miles an hour. So if you're in an area that's unsigned for a speed limit, you're supposed to be going 30. we've been working on speed limit policy for a number of years. Just quickly to Tessa's question, almost all emergency vehicles are smaller than 65. There is one fire truck, super ladder truck that I think most departments don't have. That's long, a little tiny bit longer. So speed limit policy is tricky because of a whole host of things. But we thought we landed on a really good solution with CMAP, who's our partner on some of these really technical policy things, including the truck turning radius. And so that bill was heard in committee, and the committee chairman doesn't like it. He under no certain terms will he allow that bill to proceed. So he wants to go back to, instead of lowering the default speed limit across the state and urban areas, he wants to go back to municipalities passing their own ordinance to lower the speed limit in municipalities. So there are pros and cons to both approaches. So we're going to go take a look at what's possible and start negotiating that next week. So the city of Chicago is supportive, which is helpful. I think they are going to lower speed limit. They were going to lower speed limits with or without this bill, but we want to make it less cumbersome to do so. If you're going to lower a speed limit, don't have the same engineering study requirements, for example, and other things, because those are very outdated. So there are other interesting things happening, but those are some of the biggies. And I'll pause there for any other questions or ideas that folks have. Elizabeth, that's a note. I have not heard that coming up, but I met the Secretary of State lobbyist the other day, and they're fighting the good fight. So Dave, I'll add that to our agenda when we follow up with them.
Does anyone have any questions for Amy? Amy, do you, or maybe Dave also, do you have any updates about I guess there's some e-bike legislation, and then also the must, or you can yield at stop signs, the Idaho stop bill?
Yeah, the Idaho stop bill, there were two different ones. One was written very poorly. The other was written well, and it did not end up getting heard in committee. So we're not sure why. So we're trying to track down why they didn't end up calling that bill. And they do that for two different reasons. Again, the chair is just like, I don't want to deal with it. And it probably needs to go back to a rules committee, or it's an agreed on bill. No, they're not worried about it at that moment, what have you. So we don't have the answer yet on why that didn't get called. There are 4 different e-bike bills. None of them have yet been assigned to, one got assigned to a committee last night, Dave.
Did. Okay, good.
Because they involve revenue or the tax code, it's not in the transportation committees. So it goes through a different process. And so we'll get back to you on that. We're working, mostly Dave, with People for Bikes on best practices. Yep. And making sure at this moment, the most important thing for Illinois to decide is what state agency would be in charge of an e-bike incentive or rebate. And then once we know what the state agency is, and once they're charged with it, we think that we can advocate to build an amazing program. But right now there's 4 different pieces of legislation, and they're all at different state agencies. So we need to find the best home.
Yeah, and I can add to that. We did meet with People for Bikes yesterday, as well as a couple folks from Lyft. They're interested in how an e-bike incentive or rebate program might tie into a Bicycle Commuter Act. So it's kind of a different wrinkle. So yeah, we were able to tell them that there really wasn't anything super promising as far as 4 bills were concerned. But People for Bikes has been super supportive. Lyft says they can help as well. We know this is maybe a long game type of thing. Maybe nothing happens in 2023. And then one thing that's been discussed with Alex Perez from Active Trans, we've talked to Secretary of State about this as well, is possibly doing an e-bike demo day. When we were thinking it would have to be done to convince legislators that this is a good idea, I think both of our heads exploded because it would have to be a very short timeline. So the fact that this may not be moving super quickly would allow us to kind of rethink that, decide what kind of partners we'd want to invite to that. And this would be in Springfield at the Capitol. Imagine legislators and staff having a grand old time pedaling around on e-bikes. So still hope for that. But thank you, Amy, for everything you've done. And I apologize for the late night text.
I apologize for the late night text.
I see a question here. The Bicycle Commuter Act. Yeah, so Lyft, Army, the way that Lyft is looking at it. And if you think back a couple of years ago when the IIJA was being discussed, there was a push to get a federal bicycle commuter benefits, and that was cut, I think, fairly early on. So the fact is, or the thought is that, yeah, the Bicycle Commuter Act would include pedal bikes. Lyft is obviously interested in e-bikes, possibly other element or types, modes of micromobility as well. So, and this was just yesterday's, and it was the first time we discussed it. So we'll see where that goes.
Oh, Terry was wondering about the bill number for the IDOT safety maintenance.
Okay, yeah, let me paste it in.
Okay. And we'll likely be reaching out to all of you for more witness slip filings and yeah, more advocacy around these bills depending on what happens. So stay tuned for more between, I guess, now and is it May? Amy, is when
through
things are finalized.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to see, does anyone else have any questions for Amy or any other bill Springfield related questions? Oh, wait. Oh, Terry, you have your hand up. Did you want to? Oh, yeah. Can we unmute you?
Yeah, just to pile on World War III with the cars and trucks. I just want to say that we need a bill to make intersections safer. And what I'm talking about are the right turn vehicles. If I had my way, of course, I'd make all right turns illegal, but I don't. And besides, that just creates conflict. But what I have is a suggestion that on all traffic signals, we have right turn arrows added so that when the walk light is lit, that arrow turns red. Because what we really need are car-free intersections, because every right turning vehicle just slides right across those crosswalks and is looking for cars. They are not looking for little kids, and they're the most at risk, because as we try to get more people to ride bicycles and families to ride bicycles, and moms trying to corral 4 or 5 kids at a time, and they see a green light, they're racing across that intersection as fast as they can. And when it's a 4-lane highway and there's a big SUV or one of these oversized trucks blocking everybody's line of sight, right turning vehicles can't see kids coming, kids can't see cars turning, and that. So at any rate, I think we need some work on right turn laws that benefit everybody. That's just my suggestion.
Completely agree. Yeah, I think one of the things that I've been thinking about after hearing some of the opposition to safety in Springfield is thinking about how we do a more vocal campaign to get more people on board. Because I think no right turn on red and or much improved signal timing and signals has to be part of this, our safer future. So it's a hard fought battle for sure. I think we can do it, but it's going to take like next level kind of sophistication.
I agree, but the technology is there, and let's use it for people and bikes, not just cars. Let's use it for everybody. We can all get along. Maybe. But anyway, I've reached out to Marty Moore, and he gave me a nice response back, and I reached out to the League of American Bicyclists. I got a very good response from them. So and the Department of Transportation has what they call a Safe Streets program where everybody can sign up and be a volunteer. So I've already done that. And I said, yeah, I'm on turning on red lights. That's gotta be it's to me, that's the most dangerous thing. And I'll just be quiet from now on, so everybody else can talk.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate you bringing that up. All right. Oh, do we have another question? Oh no, it's just a comment from Army. Yeah, so yeah, safety is definitely a important focus area, and it's yeah, we very much appreciate all of your support, and keep up the work, because it does require all of us to be fighting for these things. All right, well, if there are any more questions for Amy, thank you very much for stopping by to share the update of what's been going on in Springfield.
And thanks, Maggie. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. And we'll of course keep you all updated on as things progress and throughout the next couple months. Before I open it up to all of you, I had two quick updates for you all. One is I just wanted to share this resource. I'll have to dig it up in my email, or I'll email it to you all afterwards, but there's this federal funding resource that I think is really helpful for it. It's this big table, and it's like every bicycle pedestrian type of idea or facility or program you might want to get funding for. And it's a table you could look that idea up, and then you could look at all of the potential federal grants that idea applies to. So it just seems like a helpful resource. So I'll send that to all of you. And then the second thing is, so May is Bike Month. It's National Bike Month, and Active Trans is actually, in the past, we've always celebrated Bike Month in June, but we're going to switch to May. And we wanted to make sure, like, if any of you are doing any rides or events related to biking, we want to promote it through our channels. So if you are working on anything, you're planning some May event, please email me, and we'll make sure to share it out. So like a ride of silence, I know a handful of you organize rides like that, or even a bike to school day event, because that also happens in May. So we'd love to promote what's going on in the suburbs. And yes, I think that those are my two quick updates. I'm still trying to kind of catch up to everything that's going on, because since I was out for a while on maternity leave, so it's nice to be back though, and bear with me if I am a little slow on emailing back. Right now, I'm still digging through my inbox, but in any case, wanted to open it up to all of you. Does anyone have any questions for the group, or any resources, or just like something that's happened over the last few months that you wanted to share? And if you could raise your hand with that little raise hand tool, or feel free to type something in the chat, or speak up. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, I attended to the Northbrook Bike Committee, and just get an update on the Skokie Valley Trail. And what's been happening is getting just getting the land from Union Pacific. And the problem has been is that they don't even want to talk to anybody. But I did hear that Skokie, I guess they paid $1 million for a 1 mile section from Union Pacific. And the section in Northbrook, well, somebody at the committee knows somebody that can get in touch with Union Pacific, but they want quite a bit of money. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thanks for that.
Thanks for that. Great.
Charles Orth from the Village of Northfield. I'm a trustee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can speak to the Skokie Valley Trail in the section that continues from Northbrook through Northfield to Wilmette and Glenview and Skokie. We've come up with an alternative route that we're not going to have to worry about the Union Pacific section. We're going to be working with the section that we have next to the Commonwealth Edison property that we have. So we're going to be working, and we have been working and getting closer with the funding, working with Wilmette, Glenview, and a portion of Skokie to get that section through from Northbrook through Northfield into the section that, you know, is part of continues into Glenview / Wilmette. So we're working a lot with Wilmette and Glenview to get that section of our area completed so that we can complete our section. Because I know for years, and this has been something that's been going on for like 20 years, trying to get this through. I'm trying to push for this so that I'm not actually in my wheelchair by the time that section of the Skokie Valley Trail gets completed, because I know we're trying to get, you know, from Lake Bluff all the way into Chicago, this completed. So we've been working very diligently, you know, with our neighboring communities to get this done. And I know we've kind of veered away from the Union Pacific side because they're just unbelievable in trying to get, because they want to hold on to that section, figuring that potentially someday they may want to use that, you know, to have another railroad line. But the way the development in the areas have come, I can't see that that's ever going to be able to be used again, because there's been so much building around it that that's not really feasible. So yeah, again, Union Pacific has been, I agree with our gentleman from Jim from Northbrook, it's been very difficult to deal with and trying to get it. So we used a different way to get around that and get this done. But we look like we're getting closer and closer. And, you know, the phase 2s and phase 3s and the next phase of this whole project are continuing to move along. So hopefully, like in the next couple of years, we'll see that we'll actually be able to start hopefully building on that and getting that done and connecting all the different communities. So that's what I have to add from that.
Super. That's fantastic. This is why it's so great to have advocates like in government and in municipal and like in local government as elected officials. Like it takes a lot of effort to make these things move forward.
It does. Unfortunately, I'm coming up for re-election, and the three of us that were on the board are up for being re-slated. So we're going to be in for another 4 years. So that's why I'm hoping to see this before this next term concludes, you know, in 4 years, that we get this done. And I've also been an advocate working at Winnetka Avenue and Lagoon to get the crosswalk intersection completed there, where you have the flashing lights where they press the button, because that's where the Forest Preserve trails kind of button into there. And so that's another area where we have the Forest Preserve Trail comes close to that. And it's also because of the safe routes to school. And we've got 2 high schools and 2 grammar schools that kids in that area use that crosswalk. So I'm working with, you know, with Cook County, and because it's Winnetka was a Cook County road, to get that worked on. So that's coming along, and hopefully we've just got an engineer that's on board. We've got Mead that we're working with. We've got TAPCO. We've got pricing for the actual crosswalk. So hopefully it looks like we've got permission from the county. Now it's just turning in all the paperwork and the submittals and that. So that's another area right there that hopefully will make that, you know, biking and walking a lot safer. And it's another project that I've spearheaded and worked on my own, and with the support of the village board and the village and the residents. So that's another thing that's kind of going on in that area. So yes, we're like you said, getting elected officials. And I've lived in Northfield my entire life. So it's like 63, 64 years that I've been here and trying to advocate for the safety and everything. So it's another project that's going on.
Great. Well, we appreciate your work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brad, did you want to share something?
I just had a question for Charles and James. I was going to ask, first of all, why they would want so much money for these small disconnected parcels, but I guess Charles sort of addressed that. But my other question was, you're mentioning different routes and alternative routes. Are there published maps of these sections that general public could see?
Are you talking about the bike paths and through the Cook County Forest Preserve? Yeah, it should be. I mean, there's
the alternate routes you're talking about?
Right. Right now, there's a pathway that goes through Wilmette and Northfield into the Forest Preserve, the Erickson Woods, and that whole area that actually takes you up into the Botanic Gardens and then north of there. So that portion crosses over the Edens Expressway, goes under the Edens Expressway roughly through Northfield, but you can actually take that pathway past the woods that also runs through where the Wilmette Golf Course. It's part of the way through there, and then there's a path that actually crosses Lake Avenue in that section. So and through Morton Grove. So there's all those pathways and bike paths that actually run that way. And then once they get the Skokie Valley Trail done, some of this will be interconnected, and that Skokie Valley Trail will actually run along the old, Commonwealth Edison right away / Union Pacific right away. So there'll actually be pathways that'll actually cross over and intersect. But once the Skokie Valley Trail is done, again, my understanding is that will give a path that actually connects from Chicago all the way up to Lake Bluff. This other pathway goes through the Forest Preserve areas, through Morton Grove, Skokie, Wilmette, Northfield, parts of Winnetka, Glencoe, where it cuts through and crosses over at Willow Road, and then goes north through the Forest Preserve all the way up to Lake Cook, and then past that into the Botanic Garden that you can ride to get into there, and then it goes north there. But it's on those pathways, and some of it's cut off, and that's what's difficult is when people are riding their bikes through there. There's different pathways that if you don't know about it, you can cut through that way. So, and that runs through the forest. But I know those pathways, there's signage along the way, and I don't know if it's clear cut that there's something out on a website, or I think Cook County should have something. I haven't checked into that, just living here and just using it, but never, when the kids were young, taking them through there. We didn't go through the whole pathway all the way from one end to another. We would decide if we're going to ride north or south and go through part of it. But yeah, there is multiple connecting pathways that you can get through these communities.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really asking if there's a strict published map. I mean, I understand what you're saying. There's different sections I wrote up there to find your way from one place to the other, but I just wondered if there was an officially sanctioned, like this is going to be called the Skokie Valley Trail Road. If we don't,
the Skokie Valley Trail, yes, when that's done, that'll be the Skokie Valley Trail, and it'll be sanctioned. It'll be an official pathway, and it'll have signage and everything else when this is all completed. Yes.
All right. Tom, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to report on a couple of things from Elgin. I chair the Sustainability Commission for the City of Elgin, and this year we convinced the City Council to budget funds to create a climate action plan. So that work will begin later this year, and I want to make sure that active mobility is a major part of the mitigation efforts that are identified in a climate action plan. The City Council also budgeted an active mobility plan. So we have a bikeway master plan that I think was created back in 2008, desperate need of updating. So there'll be an RFP going out for that work sometime later on this year. I'm also a board member of Elgin Community Bikes. And last year, we were recognized as a gold level bicycle-friendly business, so we're very proud of that. But this year, we are one of 12 community organizations that are participating in the Community Alliance for Regional Equity with CMAP. So we're looking at ways to engage and make more equitable and inclusive transportation-related projects, in particular throughout the Chicago region. We also were the recipient of a grant from Kane County, their Fit for Kids program. The grant allowed us to buy 2 bicycle repair stations and benches for our local bike shop in downtown Elgin, and outfit those with a full set of complement of tools. And we just completed our first cohort of bicycle maintenance classes with some Elgin residents, and are looking to reach out and to the school system and get kids involved in those programs. So that's it from Elgin.
Wow, that's a lot going on there. That's great. Thanks for the
We have
update.
a really aggressive ride calendar for this year, so we'll send that along.
Yeah, super. Thanks, Tom. And Bob?
Thanks, Maggie. I'm going to stay off camera because my camera is malfunctioning, but I'll be very brief and succinct. Just want to let folks in Eastern DuPage know that Villa Park is undertaking a project with the city of Elmhurst and York Township. They're calling it the Villa Avenue Improvement Project. Villa Avenue is the eastern boundary between Elmhurst and Villa Park, north of St. Charles Road. And part of that project entails removing the section of the Salt Creek Greenway Trail that is on the street. So our Bike and Pedestrian Transit Subcommittee is very interested in that. The engineering firm that's handling this is Civil Tech. They're having the first of 2 public input meetings on March 22nd at our Iowa Community Center. And anyone who is interested, if you're a member of the Elmhurst Bike Club or anyone who travels on the Salt Creek Greenway Trail, I would certainly encourage you to attend that public input meeting. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Bob, you said they're going to remove the on-street facility, and
Yes.
then is the idea to have a off-street facility to replace that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to take as much of it, so it crosses the Union Pacific and the Canadian National Railway. There's no plan for an underpass, though we'd love to see that. But there's a large section that's on street, and the plan is, as described in the engineering proposal, to remove that section from the street to create a bike path.
Great.
Bob, can you tell us the location again of that meeting
Yes.
and the time?
Sure. It's not a great time. We criticize them for this. It's from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on March 22nd at our Iowa Community Center, which is, if you know where Jefferson Middle School is, it's just west of Jefferson Middle School on Iowa Street. So Iowa Community Center in Villa Park.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any updates they'd like to share? I saw there was an update from Bike Walk Oak Park. It says they released a school safety report in 2022 that analyzes crashes around their schools. And they're doing outreach with their PTO, school board to actually implement some changes. So that's great. And I'll send that link out that Sylvia shared to everyone for ideas for all of you. And I know also Bike Walk Oak Park always has, in recent years, has been getting involved in elections every year and they send out questionnaires to their candidates to see what their priorities are related to active transportation, which is helpful as a voter guide and also education to the candidates. But Charlie, would you like to go?
Sure. Hey, Maggie, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good. Yeah, you too.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I just wanted to give people a heads up. There's a pretty major road project going on in Skokie that's in the works, the Crawford Avenue rebuild, and there's going to be a open house to discuss the show the plans for the rebuild of that section of the road, and it's going to include an on-street bike lane, which is a big improvement. The southern portion of this project is just basically a 4-lane highway, and we were able to get that through the conversations with the village and the county to include a bike lane, primarily because it's a residential street, and there's a lot of the residents need parking. So we kind of piggybacked on the need for the parking to get the bike lane in and have it just one lane in each direction for travel. It's generated quite a bit of interest. So if you're up in this area or you bike along Crawford Avenue, you can put in comments through the website. I put the link in the chat, or come to this public hearing. It's going to be this Thursday, March 23rd. Again, not at a great time. It's 5 to 7 p.m. and it's in an open house format. So there'll be an opportunity to review the plans and talk to the engineers.
Great. Thanks, Charlie. I love to hear all of you getting involved in projects and trying to influence what happens with these projects that don't come along very often. So it's important to really make sure walking and biking is considered. So thanks, Charlie, for the update. Anyone else have anything to share? Ralph, I'm looking at you. Would you like to share anything about your recent articles you've had in the Daily Herald?
Well, I appreciate Terry Witt mentioning the right turn problems, because that, those issues have been of concern to cyclists forever. And I'm glad he's raising that issue. I also wanted to mention that I'm been in contact with the Illinois Prairie Path trustees or foundation, and this is their 60th. It's their anniversary of their 60th year since they've been in existence, and I know they've got some things planned, but I won't know until maybe later in March what those ideas are. But I know it's a big trail out there in the western suburbs. I was actually just on it the other day, so just want to let people know about that. And I'm working on a larger like multi-part column about the birth of a mountain biking trail out here in the northwest suburbs. Not just the ribbon cutting and the basic facts, but what led to the origin of this trail and where it is. So hopefully I will get that done. But thanks for asking.
Ralph, is that the one in the Paul Douglas Woods area?
That is correct, yes. And as far as I can tell, talk about that started back in 2015. So it's quite a birth. So as Maggie, you know what births are. This one was 8 years in the making. So
wow.
Ralph, have you talked to my friend Chris Potter about that possibly?
I'm not familiar with that name. Who is Chris?
I might send you an email, because if you want more information or if you're doing interviews, he did a lot of work on that.
Was he one of the volunteers? I'll tell you what, let me put my email in the chat and you can send me your information.
Yeah, I don't mean to hold up this meeting, but I can reach out to you separately. Exactly. It just might be of interest to you.
Okay, will do, Brad.
Neat. I saw, not to call anyone out, but I saw Steve Letsky joined from IDOT. I just wanted to say hi. If you have any IDOT updates, I know the group here is always interested in what's going on in our state's transportation department. Hi, Steve.
Hello, I am here. So I am the Illinois Department of Transportation's bicycle, pedestrian, and ADA policy engineer in charge of our state route system statewide. That means I talk with District 1, where many of you are located, and their program, their project manager with all things bike and ped, and his team. as well as Rockford area, the Urbana-Champaign, literally everywhere in the state. I'm looking over a lot of these House bills, Senate bills at the moment as they impact the DOT. Personally, I advocate for you guys. And I myself am a bicyclist and I want to see safer systems out here as well. So we're trying to implement so much more of this safe system to accommodate bicyclists, pedestrians, anywhere on our state route system, except for freeways, of course. So you're not allowed there, you know that. But yeah, I try to stay in touch with Maggie and Dave Simmons with Ride Illinois quite often. Just kind of, keeping finger to the pulse and see what everybody's needing and wanting. Just that we can all, learn from each other, help each other out, and we stay in communication. So if at any time in the future you guys need to get a hold of us, you can either talk to our District 1 bicycle coordinators, Carlos Feliciano, you may have seen his name come across in the past, or get in direct contact with myself, Steve Letsky. So that's about all I can give you right now. I'm just, poking my head in to kind of see what's going on. I'm not trying to spy, please trust me on that. As Dave knows, I myself am a pretty big bicyclist. So I just want to make sure that everybody's doing the right thing to advocate for their local agencies, to the state DOT, and how we can all help everybody. So that's all I got.
And I'll quickly vouch for Steve. I had a chance to meet with him when I was in Springfield a couple of weeks ago. He gets it because he is a bicyclist as well. So he's doing as much as he can, within the power of the organization, IDOT that is. So he's definitely someone who is great to have in our corner. So good to see you again, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. We appreciate you and appreciate your availability when we do have questions, because I know often we just have questions about how things are run in IDOT, how we can push things through, how we can better advocate for things, and just the manuals that are out there. There's some variability in how to interpret them, and so you're always so helpful to for helping us better understand what we can do and what we can push for. So thank you. And Army, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, I wanted to report out that I was appointed vice chair of a new group that was created in the city of Elmhurst called the Walking Biking Working Group. It was appointed by the mayor, so it's really nice. We seem to have support from not only the mayor, but a few of the alder persons. And I have to say, it's a group of 11, I think it's 11 people, and they are so enthusiastic. I go to these meetings and I walk away thinking, wow, how amazing is this? And the way this got started was I actually, accosted basically the mayor at Costco, me and Kim Messina, and he was willing to listen to, well, he didn't have a choice, but he was open to our discussion, and he actually met with us. And I guess my point of all this is that when you see one of your representatives, don't be afraid to go up to them and just start, talk. We're all advocates, we all bike, we all have, safety in mind. And I think when they hear our passion, that's what makes the difference. It's, it's one thing to have somebody come up to you and say, oh yeah, we really need to update our biking infrastructure. But when you come in there very passionate about how you feel about things, I think that really kind of opens up their ears and allows them to maybe have a more personal conversation with you about it.
Army, can I ask, is this group going to be charged with implementing the bike plan for Elmhurst?
The group is charged. We're not charged with actually implementing. We're charged with trying to advocate for the things that are in the plan, advocate for getting the members of the community excited and about the plan and about utilizing the, going on alternative ways of modes of transportation. So hopefully by doing that, then they'll get more involved with, you know, okay, we want to change an intersection. Oh yeah, well, we want to make this more safer for everybody, not just for the vehicles, things like that. Like we really want to try to get I think we just we're in the early stages of the group, but from my perspective, it seems like a lot of us are really just trying to get the word out that we're here and we're trying to educate the community on what's going on, that we have this bike plan, that it's important that they get involved when things come up in their community, when there is going to be maintenance on their street or things like that, that they can, you know, they should voice, you know, their opinion and get people involved, get the city involved to make changes to make things safer for everybody, not just bikers, but walkers, you know, scooters, stroller walkers, everybody.
Great. Thanks, Army, for the update. And I love that you just found the mayor and got them on board. And that's a great story. All right. Anything else anyone has to share? We've recorded this, so in case you missed the beginning, where Amy shared an update about the bills that are out in Springfield right now, you can have a look at the recording or share it with others, and I'll send out links. But please, if just a reminder, if you're organizing anything in May related to biking, please send it to me for Bike Month, because we'll make sure to share it out. And yeah, it was so great to see all of you. And we'll probably organize something like this again in April, just so before the legislative season ends, so we can give you an update and see if there's any more call to actions that we need to spread the word about. So with that,
Maggie, can I jump in?
Yeah,
once?
of course.
Because one thing you and I have sort of been spearheading over the last 2 years is getting villages or cities, municipalities to proclaim National Bike Month in their town. It doesn't cost anything. It's a piece of paper, but it's recognition of that. And I know some of us use that proclamation to put up a display in a public space like the public library or things like that. So I think we had over a dozen communities last year, something like that. So I just wanted to give a plug for that.
Yes, thank you, Ralph. Because I feel like every year I tell people in May, I'm like, proclaim that it's Bike Month. So very, very wise to bring this up now. And I can send out some resources on that too. You can talk to your mayor. It's a good conversation starter.
I'll see if I can find the list of all the communities that you and I have been sort of updating, and I'll send it out to you.
Okay, great. And Bob, yes, there's a some samples we can share with you. Sample resolutions of declaring Bike Month in May. All right. Well, again, thank you all. So good to see you, and be on the lookout for an email from me. I'll probably this weekend or next week. I'll send you the recording and links. So hope you all have a great weekend, and yeah, thanks for joining today.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks, Maggie.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thanks, Maggie.